Starting 3, 2, 1. We are live.
Hello there, guys and girls and everybody. You doing
All right,
today?
we are here for Starship's 9th flight test. Okay. Um, the SpaceX stream should be starting like right now. Anyways, while we wait for that to do its thing, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, can you go ahead and read the description of the stream, Jeremiah, for me?
You want me to do it? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the stream. Oh, your stream or
Yeah, my
yes?
stream. My stream.
Okay. Today, on Starship's 9th flight test, SpaceX will be reusing a SuperHeavy Booster, Booster 14-2, for the first time. The two previous flight tests, Flight 7 and 8, were not able to reach SECO with their upper stages experiencing an anomaly resulting in the loss of the vehicle on both flights. On today's flight, SpaceX, several hardware changes have been made to increase reliability and address the problems that caused the loss of the vehicles on Flight 7 and 8. Did you do
All
this
right.
yourself?
Thank you, Jeremiah. Yes, I did.
That's really nice. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, that is a little summary of today's flight. They are reflying a booster 14, and our objective is trying to get past what we call SECO, which is where like the upper stage of Starship engines turn off, after it like gets where it's supposed to be in space. Because last time, the rockets exploded before they could do that due to some engine and plumbing problems. But we're here. Hopefully SpaceX has fixed those problems. Now, let's go ahead and put our like what do you think is gonna happen, Jeremiah? What do you think, Jeremiah? You think they're gonna make it? Do you think they're gonna fail before they get to SECO? What do you think the failure?
Personally, I think that, like, I mean, I want to be optimistic,
Yeah,
but I
you
don't
want to
think
be
they'll be.
honest.
Yeah, but I personally don't think they'll make it to SECO. I think they will have to like spend more time into this.
You think they're gonna
So,
you think they're gonna fail a third time before SECO? That's what
I
you
feel like it
think?
could go either way, but like I'm more leaning towards them. Like I guess I'm more leaning towards them being more successful, but like it could go either way.
Yeah.
But I think they have a good chance with this one though. This is the third time, so like I'm pretty sure they have learned a lot from their previous two failures. So I'm pretty sure they will be more successful.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. I think
Well,
I think let's see here. I think Starship's gonna make it past SECO and it's gonna do um everything it needs to do. By the way, Starship is doing its prop load. Let's hold on, let's make sure that the SpaceX stream isn't live. It's not live. Anyways, I think that it's gonna be able to do, get past SECO and get in its, its orbit that it's supposed to get in.
uh-huh.
And for this test, I should also mention that the booster is not being caught this time. This is the second time that a booster is flying. This is booster 14, but we put -2 since it's its second flight because this booster previously flown on flight 7 and was caught. This time it's going to be landing in the ocean, and it's going to be doing a little thing, a list of experiments on the way down. Okay, so let me pull up the thing. Hold on, just give me a second here. Okay. All right, let me read this. The booster on this flight test is also attempting several flight experiments to gather real world performance data on future flight profiles and off-nominal scenarios. To maximize safety of launch infrastructure at Starbase, the Super Heavy Booster will attempt these experiments while on trajectory to an offshore landing point in the Gulf of America and will not return to the launch site for catch. I just want to say, like, Jeremiah, what do you think about the change from Gulf of Mexico
Yeah,
to Gulf of
I was about
America.
to say that.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
like that either. I wish
I don't
they
like
just
it.
kept it to Gulf of.
Yeah, the Gulf of Mexico sounds better.
Yeah.
The Gulf
Anyways.
of America. That
Yeah,
just
that
sounds.
sounds
I
so
don't like
stupid. I don't like
that. Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Anyways, following stage separation, the booster will flip in a controlled direction before initiating its boostback burn. This will be achieved by blocking several of the vents on the vehicle's hot stage adapter, causing the thrust from Starship's engines to push the booster in a known direction. Previous booster flips went in a randomized direction based on a directional push from small differences in the thrust of Starship's upper stage engines at ignition. Flipping in a known direction will require less propellant to be held in reserve, enabling the use of more propellant during ascent to enable additional payload mass to orbit. Um, After the conclusion of the boostback burn, the booster will attempt to fly at a higher angle of attack during its ascent. By increasing the amount of atmospheric drag on the vehicle, the higher angle of attack can result in a lower descent speed, which in turn requires less propellant for initial landing burn. Getting real-world data on how the booster is able to control its flight at this higher angle of attack will contribute to improved performance on future vehicles, including the next generation of super heavy boosters. Finally, unique engine configurations will be demonstrated during the Super Heavy's landing burn. One of the three center engines used for the final phase of landing will be intentional inten- Oh my gosh. Well, intentionally oh inten
Intentionally.
yes, intentionally disabled to gather data on the ability for a backup engine from the middle ring to complete a landing burn. The booster will then transition to only two center engines for the end of the landing burn, with shutdown occurring while still above the Gulf of America and the vehicle expected to make a hard splashdown. Alright, so basically, to make that easier to understand, let me go ahead and put up NASA space flights. Let me screen share. Hold on, I forgot to screen share so Jeremiah can see how
I'm just gonna follow along on the stream, man.
to. Screens. Hold on. All right, can you see
Oh,
it?
they're live now.
Yeah. No, this is NASA space flight. This is not
Okay.
Let's see if they're live. Are they live? Let's see. Oh, they're live. They are live
Back
actually.
with Starhopper.
All right.
On
It was
Twitter.
a small
Yeah.
single Raptor prototype.
X.
Kind of looked like
Indeed.
a water tower. We turned it into a water tower eventually. It made its first low altitude hop back in 2019 here at Starbase. You could tell the pad, that's the pad that we were just looking at. It looks dramatically different now, two towers. But Starhopper delivered. It was able to prove that we could use that Raptor engine for controlled
I'm
takeoff
just gonna. Can I
and
mute
landing.
this while I talk? All right. Anyways, so basically to make it easier for you to understand, the booster, when it does its, it like detaches, like stage separation. The booster is gonna flip away from the vehicle, right? From the upper stage vehicle. It's gonna go in a certain direction. Because unlike other times, it was going to just do it was going to be a randomized direction, going any direction. And with the booster going in a controlled direction, it can save more propellant on, orienting itself back to the launch site. And then also on its way down, when it comes down back to the launch site, it's going to it's going to be in the water, but when it comes down, it's going to come at a higher angle of attack. So it's going to be like trying to fall. Whoa, this is new. This is new views. We've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Anyways, when it comes down, it's gonna be like, how do I say this? It's gonna try to turn more, like in the air, more try to fly more like an airplane instead of flying directly down.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's gonna be hitting more air, more surface air. It's gonna be hitting more air, causing it to slow down more. So then less propellant is gonna be used for the landing burn. More propellant's better. All right. So
Exactly.
and for that with the engine sequence thing, the booster when it's doing its landing burn, it turns on how many? 12 of its engines? Wait, no, 13 of its center engines, right? For its landing burn, and then it turns off 10 of them, so it's only 3. And then they use that 3 to land. But this time, they're gonna be after they turn to 3 engines, they're gonna shut down one of the 3 engines, so there's only 2 engines, and then use a separate engine that they usually don't use to replace that engine that went out, to practice, like, say if there were one of those 3 engines went out, they're practicing using other engines to re how do I say this, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I
No,
know what you mean.
add another engine for reliability, and then they're
Yeah.
gonna turn off that engine and then keep it at 2 engines.
Alright.
So it's gonna be different than other times. That's gonna be all for the booster, and then the ship is gonna be doing all what it's been trying to do the last flights, but obviously it hasn't been able to because it's been exploding before it.
Exploding, yeah.
Yeah. I should mention they were making a second tower, and they recently lifted their second launch mount, as you can see on the screen here.
Oh,
This
wow.
right here is the launch mount.
But isn't the launch site in Florida?
No, this is
Like,
this is in Texas.
okay.
It is one in Florida, but this one right here is in Texas. So,
Alright.
Flight.
That's a lot of
Underneath
data they're
it,
going to
you've
be
got flame deflectors,
collecting
water
in
damage
this
Yes,
systems
indeed,
that
a
test
will
lot.
flight.
disperse
A
all
lot.
of those
A lot
forces.
of data.
The single piece we just lifted in weighs about 1,060 metric tons, which, if you're keeping a score at home, that's the same weight as about 10 Millennium Falcons. It's heavy.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
Millennium Falcons,
So
Dan.
many.
We're also currently in work on Starship's brand new pad at Kennedy Space Center's Launch Complex 39A.
It's my PR
We're
actually
hoping
in
to
the
bring
gym.
that online later this year
Huh?
as well. Tons of
My
progress
PR
with
in the
Starship
gym.
so far in
Where's your
20
PR?
All those metric tons,
Nigga, get this dude out of here, bro.
Central Time. And right
Yeah,
now,
PR is about 2,000 tons. Light work.
Yeah.
Nothing too shabby.
Nothing too
Hey,
crazy.
Jesse
Yeah.
and Dan, and welcome everyone to West Coast and Hawthorne, California. As you can see behind me, the crowd is gathering outside of our mission control room here in Hawthorne, and the excitement is really palpable as we continue to count down toward Starship's 9th flight test. Now, our mission control room here in Hawthorne usually serves as the mission control room for our Falcon and Dragon missions once they launch from Florida and California. Now, with Starship, all countdown and mission control operations actually use the same flight control team from the same location at Starbase, which you can see on your screen
Elon
now.
Musk.
But as we
Occupy
develop a vehicle
Mars.
like Starship, we
Look,
want as many
build,
experts
bro.
watching
But look at
these
his, like,
various
physique,
systems
bro.
as
Yeah,
well.
like a middle-aged
And
dad.
that's what we
build.
use the mission control room
Exactly.
here in Hawthorne for during
Didn't
Starship
he
flight
name his
tests
kid
like
X
today's.
something?
The
Yes,
folks in
bro,
mission
like
control,
X
which
and
you
then a
see
whole
now
bunch of
on your
letters and
screen, are
numbers.
the responsible engineers
Bro.
for Starship's various systems. This includes things
Did you know
like
Elon Musk was
booster
African?
systems, stage propellant,
Yeah,
our
he's South
ground
African.
stations, flight
South African,
software, the
Yeah, I
loads
knew
and,
that.
and the vehicle
course you did.
structures as well. And having this support gives the flight teams in Starbase
You know Elon Musk
immediate
is 6'2"?
access to our engineers' knowledge, which is
He's
really,
6'2"?
really important
Yeah.
when we're making
Wait, he's
informed
6'2" or
decisions very
62?
quickly in a test program.
No, he's 6'2", like in height.
I don't even know he was that tall.
Neither did I. I found out like a
First
few
day
days
of
ago.
launch,
Oh.
affect the loads placed on Starship structures during launch, and particularly during the descent of the SuperHeavy Booster back to Earth. So having all of these responsible engineers ready to support is crucial during Starship testing.
Actually, I want to go ahead and play a video that an exclusive video that Elon whatchamacallit, Elon was talking to a YouTuber about earlier about this flight test.
Flight 9 here.
Oh, shoot.
So give me a rundown. Like right now, we're T-minus 4.5 hours. What's going through your head right now?
I have a lot going through my head, actually. Just thinking about the various ways in the rocket can fail, which there are many.
Bro, he stutters so much, bro.
But what we're hoping
No,
to
bro.
do today is
Why do you look so nervous?
Exactly.
get
I mean, he is
the,
launching the world's biggest rocket, so.
like by
That's
far the
true.
most important thing is the high heating phase of reentry, and see how the tiles perform during the hypersonic max heating.
Yep.
And also on the basically this is think of this as a tiles mission.
Yeah.
It's all about the tiles.
Yep.
So do the tiles stay on, or do they shake off? It's pretty hard keeping tiles on a rocket when it is shaking, like more shaking than you could possibly imagine shaking would be.
Yep.
Like the vibration and acoustics
Yep.
are like beyond human comprehension.
Yeah.
And the ceramic tiles are like basically are brittle, like they're like a coffee cup or a dinner plate. So like got this whole like shaking metal rocket that's got cryogenic propellant, so it's like shrinking due to the cryogenics. Then it's being pressurized, so it's puffing up like a balloon.
Yep.
Then it's got body bending.
Yep.
So and it's shaking. So it's like, how do you keep these dinner plates?
I know, he was just yapping about the tiles. He was just yapping about the heat tiles
That
that's
said,
on
we're moving forward in our
Starship. That those black things on the side of Starship that supposed to, keep it from not melting and stuff. Yeah.
So you're seeing how things behave all together in the real world, then you're solving problems as they pop up. That's how SpaceX developed their very first rocket, Falcon 1. Same philosophy was used to develop Falcon 9.
Today, we're looking to get our first re-entry with the latest iteration of SHIP, while intentionally stressing the Super Heavy vehicle during its return to get data on its boundaries. And by stressing, we mean that we'll be pushing the flight envelope of Super Heavy as we fly at a higher angle of attack during descent towards the Gulf. Angle of attack in this case means that Super Heavy is pitched up to maximize drag and slow return. Because of this test, we will not be attempting to catch and recover Super Heavy, which again is flying for its second time today. So for a brief moment, this booster will hold the title as the Super Heavy flight leader.
That's right. All right. Lot still ahead for today. Let's get into it real quick with this overview. As always, everything starts with a liftoff. 33 Raptor engines igniting. Super Heavy pushing itself and Starship into ascent over the Gulf. It's going to continue for about 2.5 minutes before we get to hot staging. Ship will ignite in its engines. Booster will do its boost back burn and begin its flight experiments back for a hard splashdown in the Gulf of America. Meanwhile, Ship continues its burn into space.
And Ship will remain suborbital. We will be deploying 8 Starlink simulator satellites and then head towards re-entry. We'll relight a Raptor engine as well as test experiments during re-entry, such as missing tiles, metallic tiles, loading the vehicle's flaps, and then Ship will attempt a flip maneuver, and if all goes planned, we'll conclude the test with a soft water splashdown in the Indian Ocean. So that's what we have on the menu for Flight 9 today.
Whole lot.
Flight 8's RUD taught us new lessons about Starship hardware, specifically the Raptor engines. And as we touched on earlier, the root cause was traced to a hardware failure in one of Starship's 3 center Raptor engines.
Yeah, just since that flight, we've done more than 100 long-duration Raptor tests at our facility in McGregor. Huge shout out to that team for really putting in the work to better understand what happened. As a result, the engines that are on Starship's upper stage on the pad right behind us have a few changes. One of the key ones we did was additional preload on some of the joints, essentially some additional torquing, a new nitrogen purge system for the engines themselves, and made some improvements to the propellant drain system.
After our first ever Super Heavy refurb campaign, we static fired with all 33 Raptor engines. This was a chance to see all the hardware operating together, and for this flight, our teams had an opportunity to make adjustments or hardware replacements for this first ever reflight of the Super Heavy booster.
And then it was Ship's turn. We took it through several static fires. First, we did this short duration single engine burn to simulate an in-space reignition of Raptor using those header tanks, those smaller tanks up in the nose cone. We also completed a longer duration 60-second burn with all 6 engines. So where you're really putting the entire propulsion system that's going to be used for the ship's ascent into space through the paces, making sure everything's working together before we go stack it on the pad.
And in the end, these changes represent the core of our test program. And reflying a booster for the first time is a major milestone, especially so early in the flight test program.
Whoa,
Now,
whoa,
Falcon
hold on.
did it in just over 30.
Look in the comments of the stream. Look what someone said. Drama.
Yeah.
Look at the comments of the stream. Look what somebody said.
We are subscribing to Marlon to you. Yes, we are, bro.
Bro.
Indeed. Smash that like button. and hit that subscribe button for more
Content.
overviews, for more content
Yes, indeed.
relating to SpaceX.
Not really, but yeah. 'Cause this is also the same account I use to stream like Roblox and stuff. So
Oh, just for more content. Then.
yeah.
Oh yeah, this is the same account.
Our new 1 million square foot manufacturing facility in Starbase, Texas. The SuperHeavy Booster is the first
Mark
stage of the
Zuckerberg?
Starship launch vehicle stack. It's the largest boost stage
my
ever
goodness.
developed for any rocket ever.
What?
Having the largest rocket
What?
ever is a very cool engineering feat, but
What?
the thing that really makes a difference
What?
is the
What?
ability to rapidly reuse that rocket
What?
to launch many other
What?
missions. Reflying Booster 14
Ah.
is an important first milestone in that we have proven that we can recover a vehicle, turn it around, and fly it a
What?
second time. But it's not a victory
What?
lap yet.
From an operational perspective, an ideal state looks like a vehicle where very few things have to happen on it in order to take back off again. So we catch the vehicle, put it back onto the launch mount, put a new ship back on top with its payload, refuel, and take back off. And that same booster will head back to the launch mount, and we do the same thing
that
all
rocket's
over
light as
again.
hell. I could easily lift
Falcon
it.
is,
No
you know,
problem.
reusing at a pretty high rate, and we get to go look
One
at them and
finger
say,
into it.
what did you learn, what is good,
Yeah,
what is
what?
bad, and as we continue to build the Starship
Literally was like with
process.
one finger.
She said you get a finger it.
really looks like a
Hey,
commercial
no.
airliner. The advantage we have on Booster relative to when we
What are
developed
you yapping
Falcon
about,
9,
bro?
for
Why would you
instance,
do that
is
to a
this was
rocket?
really
What is
designed
wrong
from
with
the
you, bro?
outset
Rocket.
for rapid reusability. We're using all of
What?
the flight test learnings from our version 1
What?
and version 2 vehicles
tell
and our
Mark
orbital
Zuckerberg
flight
over
test
here to stop
campaign to
talking.
inform the design of our
Come
version
on,
3
bro.
vehicle. The next generation
Yapping,
vehicle will be the first
yapping.
time that we've really attempted
this is
to
fire,
make
bro. These
rapidly
views, oh my
reusable
God.
thermal protection on a rocket. In the next iteration, we'll be able to add in new innovative
Well, imagine like
materials
being there,
and
like the
regenerative
atmosphere
cooling
is just
that will
like
enable
so
rapid,
crazy.
zero-touch reefer.
I'm rather on, bro.
Rapid reusability, the ability to fly, turn the vehicle around, and refly again immediately is really the key goal of the Starship program.
What?
It is so cool to see our teams working together as Starship is learning from Falcon with reusability, and now we're seeing Starship do the same thing.
Let me go to my
So
stream
all
and make
eyes
sure
on the rocket on
that
the
it
pad,
sounds
getting ready to
right.
launch in just about 17 minutes from now.
That's right. Looking at our levels real quick, we're a little bit more than halfway full on fuel and locks on the booster, over 80% full on the ship. Still have to fill those header tanks. But everything looking good. We're not tracking any issues on the range. As a reminder, we watch sea states, air, and land around the launch site here and also over in the Indian Ocean where we're going to be doing our reentry. Not tracking any blockers to launch at the moment. Weather is gorgeous, has not been a concern all day for launch. We've been moving through all of our pre-flight checkouts pretty smoothly so far this morning, getting the ship and the booster ready for prop load, making sure guidance, navigation, and control are aligned. Everything's ready to go.
Yeah, the audio's
You can
nice,
see with the frost coming off,
Oh, wow, look at
we're getting
the
pretty full.
fully
We started
filled-
loading
not
all of
rocket.
the propellants
Yeah.
on board both ships
Yeah.
about 45 minutes or so before
Yeah.
launch.
Yeah.
They kind of stagger where we start with ship and then move into booster. We're going to
Remember that one rocket launch we were watching and then they kept
until
delaying
just
it by
about
30
3
minutes for like
before
an
Yes,
hour?
bro.
launch. First,
I've seen it too,
and then
bro.
on the booster, but
Bro, I'm so tired of that,
looking
bro.
great. Not tracking
Wait,
what-
any
what's it,
issues,
Blue
range
Origin,
issues, weather
launch?
issues. We're
I
really
think so,
really
yeah.
good
Blend,
right
yeah.
now for launch.
It got
top
down to
bar
like
window
5
right at
minutes.
60.
And it got
bro.
back, like,
They
I see the
kept doing
I'm
it
like,
like
now I'm
making
going to
this
sleep.
getting-
exactly,
getting
bro. It was
more and
not
more
worth it
exciting.
launch.
Today is going to be a wild ride for Super Heavy. We're putting the booster through several tests to expand the envelope on its capabilities and get flight data to make its
Imagine
return
the
and
whole
catch
thing
more
just
reliable.
explodes on the pad.
Now, another unique change in today's flight will be the addition of the first ever directional flip
like-
of the booster.
That's right.
Billions of
Followed the
dollars
previous
gone.
flights, and you kind of wonder to yourself, why does the direction the booster flip seem
Millions
random?
of
just gone.
Surprise, it's because it was.
Tons of propellant
Uh,
just exploded.
We've got
Yeah,
a couple of
destroyed.
views from previous flights where you'll see
Chernobyl.
the booster kind of go in
Chernobyl.
different
Cher-
directions.
Chernobyl.
And it was really small differences in the
Chernobyl.
thrust of those ship engines as they started up. They
Bro
would
said
nudge the
Chernobyl.
booster in an initial direction, and so the booster
Chernobyl,
will
I
sense
mean.
that and then lean
Chernobyl.
into it, and it'll react. The engines will gimbal, and then it'll continue to flip.
Chernobyl.
That was the easiest option technically, but you do take some performance hits, since you're essentially setting aside propellant to accommodate every single direction for a
Bro,
flip.
did you hear about
Exactly. But
Chernobyl?
if we know which direction we're flipping, then we know how much propellant we will need and can instead use more of the propellant to burn longer during ascent, adding more velocity to ship and increasing how much payload we can ultimately deliver to space.
Yeah, so today I got my trusty Super Heavy here. We're going to intentionally try to flip straight up. So as you're separating from the ship, we want to get to here as you're doing that boost back burn. The fastest way is to just flip straight up and go into it. That's roughly what we did on Flight 5. It's the most direct way to get into that orientation for the boost back burn. What you don't want to do is when you flip all the way down like that, we did that on Flight 7, it takes you in a big loop, uses the most amount of prop, not efficient. We're at the point where we want to start kind of tuning it in and getting some extra performance out of the booster.
Yeah, exactly. That's called optimization.
That's right.
To accomplish this, we made some changes to the hot stage adapter, welding reinforced panels over the vents in the direction that we want the booster to go. So when the ship engines ignite, the thrust will push against the block vents, which means that the nudge will be in the direction that we planned for. And then when we go to the next generation of ship and booster, we plan to control the flip direction by fine-tuning the engine startup sequence on the ship.
Yeah, that's not the only flight experiment that we have planned for the booster today. We're not attempting a catch, so we're going to try and gather additional data that's going to improve performance on future boosters. We're also going to try and see how resilient we are to things like losing an engine during the landing burn. By sending the booster out to sea, we're able to do these higher risk tests without risking the launch pad. As you might have heard earlier, we're going to be doing what's called a higher angle of attack. Basically, instead of coming straight down, we're going to tilt up a little bit. That gets you more drag on the booster. You're able to use just aerodynamic forces to slow you down. The slower you're going at the start of that landing burn, the less propellant you need, because really you're just focused on slowing down as much as humanly possible when you fire that up. So by already going a little bit slower, we'll get some benefits to our performance and our reliability.
Yeah, exactly. And there's definite uncertainty in how well the booster's grid fins and structure will be able to control its flight when we get into higher angles. So don't be surprised if it isn't a smooth descent for the booster down to its splashdown point today. The most important objective of this portion of the test will be getting actual flight data to help anchor our models. Now, we're hoping to fly the next generation of Super Heavy boosters at even higher angles of attack. So this test today will give us a better idea of what is feasible. Now, on top of all of this, we're going to see how resilient Super Heavy is to engine failures at the most critical times.
Yeah, we're going to intentionally disable one of those 3 center engines and instead use an engine from the middle ring that's kind of right behind it. Those center engines are what we nominally use at the very last part of a landing burn. You're just kind of fine-tuning the booster's path engines, waiting chopstick arms. This is going to add a real-world simulation of a scary situation
launching in 11
starting at probably the worst possible time, but we're going to do
on
this without risking the pad. And then,
on what?
At the very end of the landing burn, we're going to cut one more engine off and go down
on Levinger.
Those 2 center engines.
The way you say it's so funny. On lever grip.
Several hundred feet above the Gulf. So we expect it to make a pretty hard splashdown today. So, in all, pretty eventful day for the booster.
And as many of you may know, water landings are actually uncommon for SpaceX. While other launch providers expend all of their boosters after flight, we land and reuse most of ours. All of these tests are going to help us improve future generations of Super Heavy until we reach its fundamental design, a fully and rapidly reusable and reliable.
Why is this dude's eyes the same color of his skin?
Chris in Hawthorne. How's it going, Chris?
Where?
Hey, Jesse.
Look at this dude right here. His eyes are like the same color of his skin.
Oh yeah, low key.
In second flight and see all of the work from our thousands of engineers and technicians in action today. Now, while this reuse milestone is incredibly important for Starship's development, Super Heavy boosters are not the only vehicles that we reuse here at SpaceX. We're big on reuse, and our Dragon fleet is another example of that reuse. And we actually control those Dragon missions from right here in Hawthorne in the mission control room that we talked about a little bit earlier. For Dragon and our human spaceflight program, this month also marks a big milestone for SpaceX, our 5-year anniversary of human spaceflight. Now, NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley got us started back on Demo 2,
I was
which was
listening.
noted
What happened?
for being the first time since the retirement of the shuttle program in 2011 that people launched to orbit from U.S. soil. Now, in those
Oh, it's the
years,
first
we have
time since
launched
2011
17 human spaceflight
since
missions.
people they want to make it the
Now
first time.
6
Wait, what?
commercial missions and 4
What, bro?
I know you. I look you missed. I look you missed what he said.
And from to
Me
earlier
too,
this year,
bro.
which became the first human spaceflight mission ever to explore Earth's polar regions. We've flown a total of 66 crew in those 5 years, and we are expecting that number to grow significantly in the coming years. Now, most recently on our From 2 mission, the crew offered unique glimpses into the orbital space.
Why is bro so happy, bro?
And this was honestly
Bro.
so cool to see. Thank you to our Starlink teams for making everything with
Bro, just happy to be there.
possible. This
We got
honestly made me
AirPods
feel
in
like I was
space.
right there with
Those
them on
socks.
the Dragon. They were living, they were working, they were relaxing, they were doing their experiments while also having fun. Basically, just being
It's
cool
Eric.
and inviting us along for the ride.
Bro, it's Eric.
Really meaningful. Being invited up there really showed how these are just the early days on the road to making life multiplanetary. And the vehicle that's going to make all of that happen is.
You think that life will be
Starship.
multiplanetary in our
And
lifetime,
Jesse, I
like
don't
with
know about you, but that is
with a
definitely the future I have
self-sustaining
wanted since I
Mars
was a little
colony
kid,
or a
and I
moon colony?
cannot wait to see us make it
I'm
happen.
not 100% sure. Hold on.
Right there with you, Chris.
Not 100% sure about self-sustainable, but I do think we're gonna have some type of civilization on Mars by the time we're dead.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
It might take a little bit longer to become self-sustaining.
Yeah. Yeah. So self-esteem.
Self-sustaining.
Chernobyl.
Okay, bro.
To make life multiplanetary, we have to build the starships that will make this all possible.
That's right. And that's happening right here, Starbase, Texas, the gateway to Mars. This is where we're soon going to be launching up to 25 Starship launches per year from here at Starbase. And the place is changing every single day. We've grown quite a bit just in the last couple of years. There's a couple hundred employees, their families living amongst actual rockets. We're in the process of expanding production and integration. We've got a target of 1,000 Starships a year we're going to try to hit. And recently, we did become a city of our own. We're the first city in Cameron County in 30 years. And that's just going to help us scale more quickly, try to build out the best community possible for all the people that are building the future of humanity's place in space. Starbase, pretty easily one of the most inspiring, exciting, unique places to live and work on the planet. As usual, shameless plug.
I'm gonna butter
hiring.
your biscuits,
Come
Jeremiah.
help us build the gateway to Mars. Visit SpaceX.com/careers. You can see all of our openings.
And this is my first time
Yeah,
in
these guys are
Starbase,
good.
and Dan, the Star Factory is a manufacturing engineer's dream.
Hello?
To be able to build a factory like this at such a large scale with such a
Jeremiah?
large-scale vehicle is so wild to me. And though
Hello?
I'm just visiting, Chris is hanging out right where I call home base. So let's check back in with Chris in Hawthorne.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah,
Hello?
everything here in Hawthorne's looking good. The crowd is gathered, really excited to watch the hard work of all
Jeremiah?
of their colleagues come to
Hello?
fruition here for Starship on its 9th flight test. Not tracking any issues. We are excited to watch Starship do its thing today, make it halfway around the world, and test a lot of those critical in-space maneuvers and operations that will be vital for the program's continued operation. So Dan and Jesse, we can't wait for liftoff. Let's have a good flight today.
Jeremiah? I was muted.
Thanks, Chris. Now, if you're just now joining us, where have you been? But we're glad that you're joining us now. We are at T-minus just under 6 minutes until liftoff of the 9th Starship test flight. So far, the range is looking good. All the airspace and trajectory area that we are going to be launching through is looking good for our test flight today. Weather has been great. It was a little rainy and windy this morning, but it cleared up. It looks beautiful here in Starbase, and propellant loading continues on both stages.
All right, yeah, it is continuing. We're a little over 90% full on our booster. We are pretty much full in the main tanks on ship, filling up those header tanks. We're going to continue loading prop for about 2 more minutes. Once we're done with that, you've got just under 11 million pounds of liquid propellant spread across those 2 stages. after we get through all of that prop load, our stage 0 will get ready. The ground systems will go through pushbacks, clearing all of those fluid feed lines back to the propellant farm, getting ready for launch. We did just see they did a flap wiggles check, so the final flap check on the ship. We're doing final alignments of the guidance, navigation, and control system, our thrust vector control, essentially our steering, checkouts of the flight safety system. So everything progressing right now. If we do need to hold, that can come at T-minus 40 seconds. That's a point built into the countdown where we can pause to wait for any final checkouts, pressurizations, anything that we need to complete. We can hold there. We will only hold there if we're tracking an issue. We're not currently tracking anything that will hold us at T-minus 40 seconds. But if you've seen a Starship launch before, they can happen. We can push through them and then launch on the day still.
Exactly. But when we do pass through T-minus 40 seconds, a number of events will occur in rapid succession. The ground spin and ignition systems come up to flight pressure. Ship goes to internal power. And then after that, the quick disconnect or QD arm lockout is removed in preparation for retraction just shortly after T-minus 0. And once we pass T-minus 40 seconds, we do still have the ability to recycle the count under certain conditions back to T-minus 40 seconds and then hold there to assess what happened and see if we can proceed again back down to T0.
Yeah, there are a couple of things, kind of gates in that timeline that if we pass through that and we hit a hold, we'd have to scrub for the day. One pretty visual one will be if the water starts flowing for that deflector system that's underneath the launch mount. That happens right at around T-minus 10 seconds. For flowing water, we can't turn it off after it starts, and if we hit a hold, we're scrubbed for the day. We would need to refill those water tanks. We would also, at that point, need to refill all of the propellant tanks, as 11 million pounds of propellant is a whole lot.
11
we
million
do that in about
pounds
24 hours, so we can always turn around to try again tomorrow. But we are coming up on 3 minutes away from liftoff. We should be hearing that we're closed out of prop load on the ship at this point. Booster coming up shortly.
Wow, the weather just looks amazing there with Starship on the launch pad. Just about
2 minutes and 40 seconds.
45 seconds from T0.
Indeed.
With a lot of objectives for today. The booster, the Super Heavy booster flying today, will be flying for its second time. Last flight was on Flight 7 and just turned around in 2 flights, which is pretty incredible. I'm super excited to see that booster fly again.
All right, we did just hear we are going to hold at T-minus 40
What are you talking about,
seconds.
I'm not watching.
So we'll pass along some more information once we hear that reason. But again, that's not the end of the day. We can hold at T-minus 40 seconds for quite a few minutes. We eventually have to start looking at our temperature of all of our propellant on board. That's usually what drives us to, if we've held too long, we have to stand down for the day. So we are expecting a hold at T-minus 40 seconds.
All right.
Ready, like Jeremiah? Doing some additional checkouts on the booster Raptor while we're at that T-minus 40 second mark. So we will expect to see the clock pause at T-minus 40. And then again, we've got a couple of minutes. They can work through the issues. If we're able to clear them, we can still launch today. If it's something that we can't, we can always stand down, turn around, recycle, fly again tomorrow.
Again, that's really important. This is what terminal count is exactly for, is to be checking the vehicle, monitoring the vehicle systems as it makes its way down to T0. And again, this gives us the ability to catch anything and be able to hold, as Dan has been saying, and recycle if we need to, or pause so that we can work through those issues and see if it's something that we need to stand down for. And as Dan mentioned, we will be holding at T-minus 40 seconds, so in about 20 seconds from now.
All right,
yeah,
T-minus
so
50.
There, and they'll work through these final checkouts on, sounds like just one of those Raptors on the first stage on Super Heavy, which, as you said, we're reflying it for the first time. 29 of those 33 engines have already been used in a launch, one of which has already launched
twice, and we'll go for its third time.
Right. And you just heard our flight director today, Joe
Let's just say it like that.
He just shared that we are going to hold
twice.
this T-minus 40 second mark, keeping an eye on one of those Raptor engines on booster.
Oh, I think they're gonna have to wait a little bit because the booster's not even fully fueled yet. So, or no, never mind, because they're not going back to the launch site. Never mind.
And if you're just now jumping in, we are holding still at T-minus 40 seconds. Watching
This
one
is
engine,
it, man.
waiting for temperatures to kind of
Oh my
get
goodness.
to a zone that we want
This
them
is
to
it.
Oh,
on
never
one of
mind.
the engines on the
They said
booster, on the super heavy booster, getting ready for its
one of the
second ever
temperatures
flight.
on the engines is not cold enough, so they're waiting for
We'll
that
just
to come
continue to
down.
hold. Again, we can hang out here for several minutes. We held for a while on the first attempt last time and then cleared it, and then we triggered a different issue on the ground side.
But again, this is exactly what it's for. This gives us the best chances at success.
All right, they're doing it.
The clock is rolling.
There we go.
Oh Jesus.
All right.
Here we go.
T-minus 30.
T-minus 30
listen
seconds.
In.
Holy
Slot.
Holy
Super
slot.
Heavy. Get ready to take off from Starbase.
I'm gonna butter your biscuits, Jeremiah.
T-minus.
Bro, there's another pause. Oh my god.
No, we're not doing this again.
We are not, bro. Yo, there's a new whatchamacallit?
Hold, and looks like the clock.
There's
went
like
back
new
to
things. What the freak?
New
40
angles?
seconds.
No, look at the what do you call it?
Oh yeah, there's new
the
things.
telemetry.
Yeah,
All right.
Telemetry.
Down.
Yeah, telemetry. And it just went away.
I did
Awesome.
not see
Great.
the deflector go
And there it goes. Great.
So hopefully
Just
we're right
great.
around that T-minus 10 seconds.
Just great.
And if we were
That's great.
before that T-minus 10
Just
seconds,
what I needed.
we do have the ability to recycle,
bro.
as we mentioned earlier, back to T-minus 40 seconds.
This is not. It's not a complete scrub. So.
So it looked like this time it was a ground side issue.
Oh,
We're taking a look at this real quick. So again, we're back at T-minus 40. We're gonna hold for a little bit.
Swear, bro, if this is a scrub.
We are
If it's a
still
scrub,
scrubbed
if
for the
it's a
day.
scrub, you're gay.
Give
Wait,
them
what?
a couple of minutes to
What?
work through this. Again, we can hang out at T-minus
I thought you
40 for
scrubbed.
several
If
minutes.
it's a scrub, then you're gay. All right.
Eventually, we start looking at your bulk temperatures.
All right, you
and
agree?
all
Yeah.
the
Really
propellant
edging
on
us.
board the
Really
vehicle.
edging
We're not
us.
actively
Bro, they're
replenishing
edging
the
us.
propellant
They
on
know
board
what they're
Super Heavy and Starship, and so you don't have essentially forever to hang out before things start to warm up. And you do want to make sure your temperature's in a really stable range for a healthy startup on Raptor engines. So they're going to work through this issue. We can continue to hold here for a couple of minutes. What's launch without a little extra added excitement? All right, so
If there is a
cumulatively,
scrub,
we've held for a little over
you
3
like
minutes
dick in
between
the
the
butt.
two holds. Again, this is a ground side issue on our tower. The techs are looking through the data right now to see if it's something that we can either work through or if it would cause us to have to stand down. So we're continuing to hang out with them.
Stand down, my
holding at T-minus 40.
If you're just joining us, we did initially hold at T-minus 40 seconds. We continued the count, but recycled before we got to T-minus 10 seconds. And so we're back at a hold at T-minus 40 seconds. Waiting for more information. The team is checking out to see if we can continue today.
Bro, please fix it, please.
Oh, boo!
I swear, if it's a scrub, I swear. It was like 4 seconds away.
We're continuing
before
to
it was
hold
like
here at T-minus 40
late.
seconds. We've been holding for just about 5 minutes now.
How long can they hold before they have to
As
scrub?
the teams evaluate if we can continue to T0 for Flight 9.
Hurry up, guys. Come on.
All right, so it sounds like we're coming to a resolution.
No. Oh. Were they they say? About to reveal if it's a scrub or not.
Is it?
All right, so we are getting to a resolution. We're gonna reset everything.
Wait, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Are we going or? I think that means that they're just gonna start from T-40 again.
All right, so we're gonna see the clock.
Yes!
It is
Yes!
rolling.
Yes!
Here we go.
We saw an issue with that quick disconnect to the ship.
Oh, it was a ship.
There is a chance that
Quick
automation
disconnect.
will kick us out again if we encounter the
I
same issue.
swear, bro.
But for now,
It was
the
a
clock
shit
is
out here.
rolling.
That's what you said.
See
It's
if we
stuck.
can
Oh
exit
no,
on
I'm
that
tripping. It
T-minus
lagged.
10 second.
I'm gonna say.
No, it's a ship. Ship.
Oh.
Alright, water deluge, water deluge. Alright.
Yes.
Here we go. Here we go. Main engine ignition. And we got lift off. We got lift off. Wait, it shows the throttle on the engines.
Oh, bro.
That's cool. That's new. Shows the throttle on them.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah. Or maybe that's fuel. I don't know.
Yeah, is it?
I don't know. No, it's fuel. It's fuel because it's going down slowly. It's the.
T-plus 40 seconds. It's one
There they go.
From here, we see it arcing
33
right over
engines
top of us.
on.
We see 33 out of 33
Now
Raptor
pitching down.
engines lit on
Downrange.
Super Heavy as it starts to ascend skyward.
It's crazy. Anything that could happen, bro. It could just explode right now. Max Q.
Coming up on maximum aerodynamic pressure, then only about a minute and a half until we get into hot staging.
Oh yeah. There
Wow,
they go.
Dan, that was incredible.
Mach 1. Supersonic
We
now.
could feel the building shaking here,
Wow.
feel the vehicles
incredible.
power.
This is
And we're just about a
incredible.
minute away from
Yeah,
shutting
that.
down those engines on the booster. Again, this
He
booster
said.
is flying for its second
What he
time
said.
today.
All right, so hot staging coming up a little under a minute.
All right.
We're going to see all but the 3 center engines turn off on the booster. So our version of MECO, most engines cut off. And then just a few seconds later, hoping to see 6 engines ignite on ship to push it away.
It's gonna be amazing. So it should go left. I mean right. It should go right. The booster should flip.
Yeah.
Right. It's turning.
All right, hot staging, about 30 seconds.
Never mind. It's gonna go up then. It's gonna go up. It's gonna go up. Cause I saw the way that the vents were staged. All right, engine.
And definitely keep an
engine
eye
show.
on which way the booster flips. First ever directional flip we're going for today. Should flip straight up.
I was right. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
2, 1.
See those engines powering down.
Okay, there we go.
Booster engine cut off.
Engine cut off.
Booster engine cut off.
Stage separation.
Ship ignition.
It flips up.
Stage separation.
Boost back burn.
No, that's tough.
That is tough.
Incredible flip
And
by
the
Super
ship
Heavy
and
Booster.
booster
You can see those
is.
6
Whoa, you can see the
engines, those
ship in
3
the
engines
background.
on the
Whoa,
ship
look.
That's
ignited.
fire,
The ship
bro.
right there.
Yeah, you saw it too.
6 healthy Raptors running
Whoa!
on ship.
You
on
can see
its
the
way to
booster in the
space.
background too.
Peek that engine
Ooh,
view.
And all the
wow.
engines
Look
in
at
the
that
in
there.
the. Wow,
Chris,
this is
how's it looking
amazing.
over there? in
That's
Hawthorne,
amazing
man?
view, man.
It
You can
is
still see
looking
it slowly.
Pressure is nominal.
It is looking
doing its thing.
absolutely incredible here in Hawthorne.
That was
As we said,
spectacular.
6 healthy engines on ship.
bro.
We've got 13 out
swear,
of 13
the
engines
ship
on the
fails
booster.
somehow,
Now
bro.
down to those 3, which
All
is
right,
what
now
we
we're down to
expect in
3
the final
engines on the
moments
booster.
of the
Boost
boost
back.
burn. Now, as a reminder, we are not
Oh.
recovering the Super Heavy Booster today. We are instead
Okay,
going to
booster
do some
engine shut off.
And there we had a good
And then
shutdown of the boost rack
the
burn.
hot stage
Next
jettison.
up will be the jettison of that hot stage
Ship
ring.
avionics power and telemetry nominal.
They said
Great
power and
call out there
telemetry is
that
nominal
everything
for the
looking
ship.
nominal aboard the super heavy vehicle, which is returning to Earth, and we're going to be doing some experiments with it, including a higher angle of attack re-entry, as well as some engine tests as it gets closer to the Gulf. We are, again, because of these tests not recovering it, we are sending it to the Gulf on purpose to do those tests. But again, you see the booster on the left-hand side of your screen. You see ship with 6 healthy engines continuing its ascent to its planned suborbital trajectory.
This is usually where the ship would
very well
explode.
so far for Starship's 9th flight. Now 4 minutes 15 seconds in.
Oh no, is that a fire?
Inside of the aft
Don't tell me that's a fire, bro. Look, it's like a blue flame or something.
Oh, shoot.
Don't tell me that's a fire, bro.
On the right-hand side of your screen. The booster doing its LOX dump, that liquid oxygen dump. So because we don't need some of that liquid oxygen propellant in its tanks, we vent that propellant out to lessen the booster's mass as it comes in for its landing.
The ship freaking explodes again.
Just absolutely gorgeous views watching these two vieicles.
Bro, there's no telemetry on the booster. I don't know how fast.
Skies over Texas here today.
Bro, I hope that's not a fire.
Approaching the 5-minute mark into the flight. Super Heavy is descending.
Alright, booster's coming down now.
What can we expect here in the next few minutes as it does its atmospheric tests?
Yeah, something's leaking. I know I'm not tripping. Something's leaking,
might not
bro.
have a very smooth ride down. We're going to be putting it through this higher angle of attack.
Jeremiah, you see something leaking there.
Tiny bit increasing
yeah, dude, what is that?
I don't know, but that doesn't look good.
We've done this
it's like a fuel leak. Or maybe it's a nitrogen, their nitrogen system they're talking about.
But only one way to really prove it out.
Alright, boosters coming down.
So here comes Super Heavy. It should be
gonna start turning red here
its landing burn in
due to aerodynamic,
about 40 seconds from now.
Forces and stuff. Up there it is.
And we are going to relight 13 engines, then bring that down to 3 engines. As we talked about earlier, we
I thought it was gonna be a higher angle of attack, but apparently not.
We will be shutting down one of those.
Actually, never mind. It's going. You can see it leaning
intentionally.
Right here.
Oh yeah.
To push the limits of the super heavy booster.
Raptor chamber pressures nominal.
3, 2,
and continuing
1.
to see 6
How is it
healthy
at that
engines
angle,
on
but it
the
doesn't
ship.
look like it?
No, it's because it's like we're looking
engines
directly
still
at the
ignited
booster from
as the super heavy booster is making its way
Oh, yeah,
back.
sure, yeah.
We can see those grid fins.
Oh,
doing
it just
some heavy
exploded!
work.
It just exploded!
Oh my god!
It just exploded! Oh my gosh. Bro, it just exploded. I know I'm not tripping.
Gone,
bro, I saw a fire
no,
and then an
that's
explosion, bro. I know
We
that was
eventually that
explosion.
landing burn.
Oh my god. What are y'all talking about? The booster's
Does look
gone,
like we
bro.
lost
It's gone.
telemetry from the booster once we started into that landing burn.
It was like a little
Did you see
fire and then a
confirmation that the
poof.
booster did
but there's a
demise?
massive explosion.
Exactly.
So the booster's flight ending before it was
that
able
was-
to get through
that was
landing
quick.
burn, but again,
And it's
we're
gone.
bringing
The
that
fire
back.
thing's
We're
gone.
expecting it to make a
On the ship.
splashdown in the Gulf.
What even was that?
I
We're
think
getting
it
live
was
data
one
back
of their
the
new
entire
nitrogen
time
purge
through that
systems,
high
I
angle
think.
of attack flight. So
That's probably what it
that
was. It's
something
basically
that
to fix
was
what happened
really
last
vital
flight
for us to
when
get
they
during this
exploded.
reuse.
Now, the engines
First
are
reflight
looking a
of
little
booster in the
red right
books.
here. I don't know if it's
All right,
supposed to
ship.
be like that, but
Has about 2 minutes left.
I mean everything seems to look fine right now. So
Yeah, in about 2 minutes, we expect all 6
Alright, bro.
Raptor
Please don't
engines
explode.
to shut down. That
please
will
don't
be
explode.
SECO, basically second engine or second stage engine shut
Now one
off.
of the vacuum engines look like it's
And these
glowing
are
red
some
there.
incredible views, Dan,
I don't know if
from
we should
the aft
be
end of
worried
the
about
ship,
that or not, but
watching as the
not.
engines stay ignited with the Earth in the background.
As always, the Starship avionics team, the techs. I think we just heard the booster.
oh, they heard the booster
All right,
explode.
we got about a minute left.
Oh, yeah.
The sound waves finally reached them.
Definitely on ship as we get through the final stages into its ascent. We're expecting it to start to cut those engines off
Bro,
in about
please don't
45
explode.
seconds.
Terminal guidance.
He's looking a little red there with the engine, but we're like 30 seconds away from cut off.
All right, just about 30 seconds to go. We're in terminal guidance. In the final stages of this ascent burn.
I swear, something explodes now. All right, engine shut off. Engine shut
We
off.
did see shutdown of the
Okay.
Raptor engines.
They've made it to there, so I think we're good.
We do stagger these, so we do the Raptors first. Those 3 have shut down successfully. Sea level's still running.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ship
0.
engine cut off.
Wow, look at that. Oh my god.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. In the red went away on the engine.
Ship
It
engine
turned off.
cut off.
Indeed.
The 3 most
Now, it is-
beautiful
looks like it's
words in the
spinning.
English language.
And great
Yeah.
call out that we had
hope that's
nominal
mine.
insertion.
Look at the little debris just being blown.
But
away.
what is that debris?
An incredible flight test so far today.
Oh wow.
Not even like you're just outside and
We
this debris starts
reflew
falling
a
from the
super
you know.
heavy
Exactly,
booster for
bro.
the very first time
get
in
smacked in
9
the
test
face.
flights.
Yeah.
Ship
Wouldn't it
is-
burn up in the atmosphere?
Yeah,
though?
yeah.
its
it would
orbital
burn up
trajectory-
before it reach you.
Again, it's going to remain suborbital for its mission today. But it
Ship
ignited
finally made it. Version 2 ship
it
finally made
ignited
it
all
up.
6 of its engines and
It's
made
not
it all the
exploding
way through
yet.
SECO
Yeah.
just now.
It made it to SECO, bro.
Bro, we made it to SECO. We made it to SECO.
We made it to SECO.
Bro.
Well,
We're
the atmosphere saves Earth from a lot of
yeah, like,
space debris.
Exactly.
What they say.
If it wasn't that, bro, we would just
Incredible.
freaking
All right, but
we
I mean,
got
that's
Have meteor
hit
showers
everything.
everywhere.
Exactly.
still
bro.
lots to come for the rest of
Be a
this
whole
flight.
apocalyptic disaster.
Per usual,
Indeed.
I need to collect myself. Hey, Chris, how's it going over there in Hawthorne, man? How's everybody doing?
I think the elation and the excitement and the happiness at what we
in
just
like
saw
8 minutes, they should
achieved,
do like a
carried through
Starlink
across all of our
deploy,
sites.
test.
What an incredible
yeah.
view to see Starship back orbiting the Earth just under 11 minutes into our mission. Absolutely exciting to see all of
Looks
this.
like it's spinning
and
out of
super pumped,
control.
especially
like,
to see all
Yeah,
the
I see
team's
that.
hard work in action here
maybe
today.
it is like,
As
supposed to do
guaranteed,
that, though. I
it
don't
has
know.
been
There's-
an
there's
exciting
not
evening
hide
so
it
far
from the
for
viewers.
Starship's 9th test flight. We
No,
lifted off
SpaceX
at
doesn't try to
6:30
like hide
p.m.
things.
after a
They're,
couple
like,
of
live.
holds that were triggered at the
That's
T-minus 40-second mark, but we were able to clear those, one on the Raptor, one on the tower, and we were able to lift off successfully from Starbase. 33 out of 33 Raptor engines lit on the Super Heavy, all 6 engines lit on
Sad that the
ship,
booster wasn't
bringing it
able to
its
do its
planned
little engine
suborbital
experiment.
trajectory around
Kinda
Earth.
exploded.
But as Dan said, we've got a lot still coming up in our flight sequence. So coming up at about T plus 18 minutes, 26 seconds, we'll have the first deployment of simulated Starlink satellites planned from Starship. That will be followed at about T plus 37 minutes and 49 seconds by the relight of a single Raptor sea level engine in space. This is going to help us gather data on our ability to do a deorbit burn for future Starship missions that will go orbital. And then, of course, one of the biggest tests yet to come is the new heat shield modifications to Starship. And that'll start with re-entry into Earth's atmosphere at about the T plus 45 minute mark.
Why is
which
it so
should take about
pixelated? Oh my
16,
gosh.
18 minutes to
bro.
complete.
What is going on?
Now, today's re-entry is going to test
Golly.
that heat shield like we
Look
said.
at the field dump.
Specifically
Oh
how
my
Starship
gosh.
will hold up to 100 missing
Look at
heat
the
shield
field
tiles
just
on
being
its
dumped
thermal
out right
protection
now.
system.
Look at
Now,
that.
It's
we
like
purposely took those
just
100
debris,
tiles
like-
off of
Like-
very critical areas of the
Exactly.
vehicle to be able to safely test on a flight like this suborbital trajectory into the Indian Ocean what might happen on an operational flight.
It's like a whole
in
sh-
those
it's making
areas
its
if
own
we were to
shadow
lose
on
the
a- its
primary
cloud
heat
of
shield tiles of Starship.
propellant.
So very critical test coming up. And then after that, we'll have the
What
final
is it? What am I
descent where we
looking
will
at, bro?
again be pushing Starship to its limits. We definitely pushed the booster
Where
to its
is
limits
this?
today to gather data, and we're going to be doing the exact same thing on that ship, seeing how the ship handles various flight conditions that we will need it to fly in as we look to one day soon bring ships back to Starbase for catch and reuse. Now, while there are payload simulators on Starship for deployment today, as we will see in a few minutes, the primary data and the primary
Alright,
payload
I'll
for today
be
is
right
the
back. I
data.
need to use the bathroom real
And
quick.
today, just like with Starship's previous test flights, that data is coming to us courtesy of our Starlink network. In fact, it is from Starlink that you are seeing these wonderful views of ship in space right now. So, and I can't wait to see Starlink really provide those epic views and that data transmission during reentry, which is very, very critical to getting that data during reentry. So, Dan and Jesse, It's been an exciting day so far. There's more to come as we get ready for Starship's first ever payload deploy. What can we expect next here in the next few minutes?
Thanks, Chris. Just going to reiterate, thank you to the Starlink team for these incredible views today. In a few minutes, Starship will deploy 8 Starlink simulators, similar in size to our next generation Starlink satellites. The Starlink simulators will be on the same suborbital trajectory as Starship, meaning they will passively re-enter the atmosphere, just like Starship. With tests like these, we can see how Starship's payload deploy systems work in flight while ensuring that these simulator satellites pose no safety risk to people on Earth or for other satellites in orbit. Now, this also ensures that any parts of these simulator Starlink satellites that do survive re-entry splash down harmlessly in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
And then before we get there, though, we're going to have to open up that payload deploy door. So we've only ever done that one time before. Pretty sure it was Flight 3. Someone on the internet, please check me. But that was the only time we ever opened it. And we've had Starlink simulators on the last 2 flights, but we haven't gotten to this moment yet where we're able to open up the payload door and start deploying these. It's going to be pretty cool. We've got them stacked inside of the Starship payload bay, and we'll have potentially a couple of views. You saw one camera pop up. Oh, there we go. Look inside of the payload bay of Starship. You can see them stacked down in the middle of your view. There's kind of 4 on either side, so they're sandwiched on top of each other, a stack of 4 right behind each other. And then we're going to pop the door open. It's on the right side of your screen, so we'll see that open up and then start firing those Starlink simulators out into space.
We are expecting the payload door to open in a little over a minute from now. And then once that payload door is open, about a couple minutes later is when we will start dispensing those Starlink simulators.
Whoa. What am I missing here?
So should be able to
Nothing
see
much.
kind of firing out from right
They
there.
haven't
So really
deployed
cool.
it yet, so.
And eventually
Okay.
these are going to carry
Jeez,
dozens
look
of
at the mechanism
next generation
that
of Starlink
deploys
space,
the
and those are going to
satellites.
enable
That is
some
crazy.
truly insane things in terms of speeds from space,
Some like
and
a
what
chain
we're able
system
we're able to do. Starlink's been really great for Starship,
5.
obviously. Getting live video back is really cool,
1,
but
2, 3,
just
4,
the amount of high-speed telemetry, everything we're able to get back is insane. And for a
Did they open
development program, it's kind
the
of
cargo bay?
everything.
No.
We're in excess of 130 or 160. My numbers are fuzzy right now, just like my brain is. But
His numbers are fuzzy.
well in excess of 100 megabits per second of downlink.
What'd
And
you
a lot
say?
of that gets eaten up by video. We've got
What?
dozens of cameras
What?
across Starship. We added several
What?
more. For this flight, you saw a couple of those as we have essentially 360 degrees. Oop. Open the pod bay door, Hal.
What? I assume they would open it by now. If they can't.
Oh, no.
Unless it's already open, we just don't know it.
Now we are expecting the payload door to open
Okay, there we go.
any moment now. So we're watching out for that. Again, you're looking at the inside of Starship as it's suborbital.
So it's either gonna open on the left or right side. I think it's the left side. I mean right side. Should be like right
Probably is.
here. I don't
Well,
know.
we heard
This
it was in
this
progress.
pixel blocks
Exactly.
the view.
It was
Huh?
unable to actuate
Huh?
all the way
Huh?
open, so they are going to close it
What?
back up. Hal told me
And
no.
rude.
Said, I'm sorry, Dan. Can't do that. Looks like we won't get the door open today.
Wait, what?
But that's okay.
Why?
Wait, what'd they
This is
say?
obviously a test we want to be
Won't get
able
the
to
door
do
open today.
before
Why?
deploying full-on Starlinks.
Wait,
But
why?
The real
Oh, bro.
focus for this.
Wait,
now that we
so
are
you're
in
telling me
space,
they have
is
to
getting to
they
that
have
re-entry.
to
That is
re-enter
the
and
most
land the ship
critical phase of
with
Starship
payload
that
inside the
we
rocket.
still have to prove out.
Why?
How are they gonna do that with like 10 tons of payload?
Yeah, it's gonna explode after this.
Yeah, go ahead
So it
and
does
say
look
our
like we're not
goodbyes.
going to be able to deploy Starlinks today,
Bro.
but we should
You
have
see a massive
pretty
explosion.
frequent views
bro.
from Starship. They might cut in and
Oh,
out
and we lost telemetry with the
every
ship.
once in a
I don't
while,
know.
but should be pretty regular.
Wait,
We
did
are
they
in
even say
darkness
why
right
that
now,
they're not
so
doing it?
might be a lot of black. But the cool part is when we get to reentry,
We're
it's
gonna
going to be daytime.
Okay.
Yes, and we did
I
that
hope
on
the
purpose
ship's gonna be
so
able to
that we can
control
get some
itself with
live
the extra
daytime
weight.
views
Oh,
as
bro.
the ship is returning back to Earth.
All right, so we are going to take a break. Enjoy
Knock,
these
it'd be
views
impressive
as
if
we
it's able
get
to land
them.
fine
Enjoy
with
the tunes.
friggin'
We'll
payload
be back
inside
in
of
a couple
it.
of minutes when we get
Yeah.
ready to reload
Imagine the
one
thing
of
just
those
falls
Raptor
apart
engines
on the way
on
down.
orbit. See you soon.
Wow. Alright. There's like so in like 20 minutes it's gonna re-enter. Wait, we're trying to play some Roblox or something while we wait?
Sure.
Alright, let me pause the stream
Hold
and
on.
such. Hold on.
I'll be right back.
Alright. Look at all these. All these is and stuff. Amazing. SECO, we made it. Yeah, yep, we did. Okay. Wow. I want to see the views that whatchamacallit did.
Right. It does look like the deluge has not.
Rather be on.
Wow.
Guys, absolutely amazing track.
Gauge. I'm Raptor. I noticed on direction. SpaceX.
Okay.
That's beautiful. Booster 14.
I want to see NASA Space views on the
Now,
Okay.
this is gonna
booster.
be
Alright,
This
this is it.
14 down. Hopefully.
I want to see what it looked like,
It's not
how it
a frame, it's
exploded
when
from
we
there.
put
Yeah.
every
7 and 8. Was it like 7?
touchdown. It's like 8.
Okay, coming in.
audio of that engine. We always do, even though it's
This.
out over the Gulf. Remember, no catch. They're going potentially simulated catch.
Okay,
Look at that.
here we go.
Amazing. That thing is really coming in fast.
I want to see what they're.
The bottom
Abby,
section
what are you
is
doing
heating
in
up
here?
from aero forces. There's some
There you
ablative
go.
torque underneath there.
You
That's
come here?
going to go away on
Or
future
not?
versions of Booster, being replaced by metal
Alright, here we
tiles.
go.
But that
In 3,
red glow, you can see
2,
almost like a cigarette lighter.
1. You can't even see anything.
Looks like the booster's descending into the haze.
If I want to see it.
So AFTS
in a
has
minute.
been saved, so no FTS active on this booster anymore. That's normal.
That's good.
Yeah, it's always tough to see when it's out over the Gulf.
Okay, so I guess SpaceX is always
It's
in
coming
there.
up
on that linen burn for the booster.
And explosion.
Oh. Come on.
And there we go.
Oh.
It's gone.
That looked like a red.
Yep, that was a red.
Oh, I mean, we said it
very
might be
much.
possible.
Yeah. And back to the ship.
Alright, well.
Now that's the big
Back to
ticket.
the ship.
We
Wow.
knew that could happen with the booster. Don't
So
panic
yeah,
about
that
this.
was the
Don't-
end of the booster
Just
there.
expected. This is the big ticket item.
Have seen it, if it wasn't that cloudy. That was also the other option, right? That, we're not sending people because,
Alright,
it's gonna
anyways,
go away.
we will be right back. And we'll be right back. We'll be right back in about 20 minutes. See y'all. When it's time. Hey, I just want to test that. Okay, guys, I'm back. I'm back. I looked at Twitter and they said something about hold on, altitude loss? Ignition? Wait. Hold on, because I don't know. Has lost altitude control.
We did spring a leak in some of the fuel tank systems
No.
inside of Starship, which a lot of those are used for your attitude control.
Attitude control.
And so at this point, we've essentially lost our attitude control with Starship.
Oh no.
We are still on a path toward re-entry. We are
yeah.
suborbital, so no matter what, we are going to enter. We
Wow.
did spring a leak.
Dang. I wonder what caused this problem. Maybe it was a part of the maybe it was a part of the whatchamacallit, the payload in the bay, causing it to like move around and unnecessary bending and stuff.
As before.
Hold on.
We were not able to get that payload door open and deploy those nose cones. We've been dealing with some leaks on the ship. This is also what led to that loss of attitude control. So at this point, we are kind of in a spin, and we are also going to be skipping that Raptor relight. If you've followed through the history of Starship, something similar happened, different cause, but same symptom. Back on Flight 3, where we weren't able to maintain attitude control in orbit. And so we're going to skip the relight of that Raptor engine while we're in space. We are going to still proceed with entry, but as we are not able to control the attitude of the ship, as we get into entry, it will enter in whatever orientation it is in at the time, which does not bode well for the ship's heat shield.
Yes, bro.
We're not going to be essentially aligned the way that we want to do for reentry. So it is definitely coming down. It is definitely heading to the Indian Ocean.
Oh, wow.
But our chances of making
what
it
is
all
this
the way
fire
down
stuff I'm
are
seeing? What is
pretty
happening?
slim. So we'll still get as much data as we can. We're still getting
where is this
telemetry
cloudy
live views
stuff
from Starlink the entire time.
Like, what am I looking at?
And we'll continue to stick with ship as it continues on. We are about 10 minutes away or so until we start getting into entry, and the light will start to pick up as we cross the Indian Ocean, and we'll start to see a little bit more daylight, and we'll, as always, as long as we maintain that comm link, get some plasma on the way in and start to bring the Starship back through the Earth's atmosphere. So that coming up in about 10 minutes or so. So we'll check back in with everybody in a little bit.
What if, right? Since its flaps are still able to be controlled, what if like it's able to like gain control like as more and more atmospheric drag like comes, and maybe it's able to gain control there? That's just like its only hope, which I don't think is gonna happen. Honestly, I don't know what this cloudy stuff I'm looking at past my screen. What am I looking at? I think we're starting to experience some atmospheric drag as we are now starting to slow down. Or was starting to slow down, I don't know. But it's like, what am I looking at? Like, what is this? It's reflecting off the Starship, so is this gas or something? Like, what is happening? Oh yeah, we're about to go on re-entry in a couple of seconds here. Like, I still don't know what I'm looking at. I don't really have any hope for this, not gonna lie. I don't think it's gonna be able to. Because any moment here, we're gonna start seeing some error, some re-entry effects, and yeah, Maybe we get lucky and ship is able to gain control. I don't really think so, but all we can do is hope. Why is this flashing? Like, what am I looking at right now, bro? And it's moving faster and faster. Like, what is happening? Wait, is that behind the ship? Are we going like... Does that mean we're going like... Okay, I don't know what's happening. We are about to go through re-entry. I don't know what this flashing stuff is. This is like scary. Maybe it's like the stuff that's the plasma stuff. Now it looks like we're going sideways or like completely the opposite wrong way. So like what am I looking at? Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Now I really think we're starting to get into this re-entry. As it looks like, bro, I'm so confused. What is happening? It's like so many explosions are happening and like, oh my gosh. Bro, is the ship? Oh my gosh. It looks so violent. Okay, now we can visibly see that the re-entry is starting to take effect on the ship. Okay, we can see that now. But this flashing is like, oh my, like, what is causing this? I thought it, like, usually it's smooth and stuff, like how it usually is. Wow, that's from the engine bay. Yeah, I don't really have high hopes for this ship. Imagine it's able to survive through the atmosphere somehow. I don't think so. And we're back.
All right, so we are 42 minutes and change.
Did it just
into
explode?
Today's flight
No,
test.
okay,
You're
never mind.
seeing the light show start as Starship is getting closer to its reentry. If you're just tuning in, we were able to successfully make it to orbit. Run into a couple of issues as we've coasted to our entry point over the Indian Ocean. At this point, we had lost attitude control of the ship and entered into a spin. The team made the call to do what's called passivate the vehicle, so we're essentially venting all of the remaining propellant overboard, and it's going to make an uncontrolled reentry.
Wow.
Important to note, this is a contingency that is planned for, and we clear the zones in the Indian Ocean where these entries could take place.
Clear the zones.
So we're not
alright.
going to come down exactly where we would have had nothing happened, but we do clear
So all the
a tremendous
fuel
amount
and
of
propellant's
space
gone.
out in the Indian Ocean in the event that we run into this. You always we understand that there are always risks essentially with these flight tests with the hardware, but we don't really accept any compromise when it comes to protecting people.
And it is one thing to note is we will actually still re-enter in our planned airspace zone, which is good. That is exactly what we planned for. You know, we do plan for if something does go a little bit off nominal, that we have enough airspace cleared out for situations just like this.
Yeah, re-entry is still just that really critical phase that we need to try and gather as much data, as much information as possible. Is a fully reusable heat shield has never been flown before, history of space flight, and that's something that Starship still has to crack. And so we had a whole range of experiments on this one at this point, and we just started to lose some of our cameras, so it's very possible that we'll start to lose contact with Starship a lot sooner than we would have if it was a nominal reentry. So we are expecting it to break up essentially on its reentry over the Indian Ocean. So not able to do a lot of our on-orbit objectives today, but just the fact that we, got it into space was just a really big moment for a lot of the team.
Yeah, and another thing to note is that Super Heavy did fly for its second flight today. It first flew on Flight 7, and it made it all the way to our shutdown of all the engines and stage separation, getting ship into its suborbital trajectory today. It did ignite its 13 engines, but it did demise at that point. We did plan to fly it back down to Earth at a higher angle of attack, and we do expect it to stress the vehicle a lot more than what we've seen previously. So it's not unexpected that we did lose the booster before we got to the actual landing.
Yeah. So we're gonna continue to hang out and see if we get any updates on ship. It does look like We might be getting some video back
Oh
soon.
my
There we
God,
go.
what is happening? What am I
So
looking
this is a
at?
view essentially
That
on the
is
top part of
crazy.
Starship. You're looking up at the payload bay and towards the nose cone. So
Oh, it
views
is
are going
going through it. Poor
to
Starship.
be a little bit
Oh,
scarce potentially, as again we
it
are
is
in
spinning.
essentially a tumble. We had lost that attitude control.
Come on, try to use the flaps.
So
Bro, what
Starlink,
is
when it's
this?
able
Like
to
that?
connect,
What
able to
am
feed
I
this
looking
down.
at?
We
Hey,
are
is
at the
it
phase where
going?
we would expect
Oh, never
entry
mind.
to start
That's
within
yeah.
the next
I thought it was
minute
going
or
the right
so.
way,
So
but
we are
obviously,
entering
because we can see the trail
uncontrolled,
behind
again,
you, that
we're
means that
entering into an
we're
airspace
not going the
and
right
a
way.
sea space that is cleared and monitored in advance of launch
Sad.
and before we get
Just
to
watching
this
it
phase.
go.
And with the views that we are able to see, you are seeing a lot of that plasma build up.
Oh my
during
gosh,
reentry.
yeah, it's
We do
burning
expect
through.
the vehicle to see about 1400 degrees
Look at that,
Celsius, and there
bro.
you can see the flap
It is
feeling
burning
that
too.
temperature there. A little bit melting away.
Yeah, I can see the
but
flaps.
as we expected with the spinning of the vehicle, we are no longer controlling the attitude
Bro, it's
of the vehicle.
falling
So
apart
this
now.
is now
Oh
at this
my, you
point
can
in
see it
the test
melting
flight. It
off.
is expected to see it begin to demise a little bit on its way back down to Earth.
Yeah, and so we'll stick with it for as long as we're kind of getting any reach back from the ship as it starts to make this reentry. But yeah, so it's re-entering actively right now. And again, we did do what's called passivation. So you essentially vent all of your excess propellant overboard before you hit the atmosphere. That's a safety measure we can take on the ship while you still have contact with it. So that was done. It's now coming down in the predetermined hazard area that was cleared ahead of flight. Not controlled, so we're not going to get all of that reentry data that we're still really looking forward to. This is kind of a new generation of ship. It has different flaps, improved heat shield, a whole lot of things that we're really trying to really put through the ringer, as there's a whole lot we still need to learn before we get to kind of the next step that we're hoping for, which is going to be that ship going orbital and eventually coming back here for a catch. So getting through one of these fully is going to be really important. It's not going to be today. But we are just going to stick with the ship, see what else we can learn as it makes its way through the atmosphere and brings an end to the 9th flight test. So we'll stick with it.
Oh man. Am I tripping? Or is that a lineup of Merlin engines of some sort? So 1, 2, 3. Looks like a thing of engines over there. And 4. So it looks like. Kind of hard to see though. Oh man. Starship didn't make it, guys.
If you're just now joining us, we did have an on-time liftoff from Starbase Texas at 6:30 p.m. Central Time of the Flight 9 vehicle. We did have some incredibly stressing objectives today. The SuperHeavy Booster flew for its second flight. It first flew on Flight 9 and made its way to take ship all the way up to stage separation, doing its second flight ever, which is pretty incredible. We did lose the booster on the way back down, as we did fly it back down at a higher angle of attack. So as expected, we did have it demise on the way back down.
Yeah, we were able to get all the way to that landing burn, though. So we made it through that higher angle of attack. So a lot of great data that's going to help us improve those future booster flights.
Yeah, we did do the directional flip, and it worked.
Yep.
It was actually
Flipped
a great
right
view
direction.
that we saw. And then ship continued, 6 healthy Raptor engines in the beginning of its flight, making it all the way to SECO and coasting for quite a while. We made it to the expected time that we would open up the payload door. Unfortunately, the door did not open as we expected it to, so we did not deploy the 8 Starlink satellites.
Yeah, we ran into a couple of issues once ship got there, but I can tell you it was a pretty crazy moment for a lot of the people that were standing here for ship to make it there. It's been a couple of flights, but it was really exciting to see. Ran into some issues on orbit. We weren't able to deploy the Starlinks. We eventually lost attitude control, dealing with some propellant links inside of the ship. And we did lose attitude control. And just to confirm, we did lose contact with the ship officially a couple of minutes ago. So that brings an end to the 9th flight test. So still a lot of work to do, but really big moment. Chris, how's everybody doing over there in Hawthorne? What's the vibes, man?
Yeah, you know,
What's
I mean,
the
it's a test program, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn, and that was definitely the vibe and the atmosphere here at Hawthorne. Would have been great to see Ship get all the way through its objectives today, but with all of that data that came down through the Starlink system, we're definitely going to learn it, and we're definitely going to fix that and push forward. Also, great to see the responsible engineers here in Mission Control talking with the flight control teams in Starbase. We talked about how it's great having that expert knowledge on console to be able to go to at a moment's notice, and that really helped us make the right decisions in orbit today when we decided to passivate the vehicle. So we will be here looking forward to Flight 10 and some success on future flights.
All right, well, obviously congratulations to everybody that poured so much time, effort into getting this rocket off the pad. The last 2 months have been an absolute gauntlet for a lot of people, and we're continuing to learn more about this ship, about this rocket. We are trying to do something that is impossibly hard, and it's not always you're not going to reach it in a straight line. We said there's going to be bumps, there's going to be turns, but seeing that ship in space today was a hell of a moment for us. So congratulations to every single person who put time, effort, sweat, anything into that rocket.
Yeah, this is exactly the SpaceX way. We're going to learn, iterate, and iterate over and over again until we figure it out. So thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you for the fine people of Cameron County.
That's the end of that. They've lost communication with the ship. You can see it breaking apart there. Let's see what other people are saying. Looks like Zach Golden is the only person here. Seems like maybe the issues from Flight 8 were resolved to the point where the ship was able to reach second engine cutoff, but we're still to blame for the issues later in flight with the loss of altitude control. Speculation, of course. But yeah, I think this is gonna be the end of the stream here, since Flight 9 has come to an end. A pretty cool flight. Wish it lasted longer with the booster and ship. But I mean, they're gonna reiterate and try again, do better next time. So